अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवै नमः. So everybody is full of and the again session. So all are there. How's the Josh? High or low? How's the Josh? How's the Josh? So it should be, you know, like we wind up our session till time, the Josh should be same. So basically, our Bharatiya, Jivan Shaili start with herbs. Because in kitchen, we use so many herbs. That doesn't mean that Ayurveda is only limited to kitchen or some, small nuske and all. It is a complete scientific and authentic, medical science. So that is also one side. But we use herbs from our kitchen to, our diseases. That is the important part. Then when we start with Dinacharya, from that also we start with the herbs. For example, in Dinacharya, they have mentioned, different sort of herbs for the Dantadhavan. So, means we cannot limit herbs to only Artavasya Vikar Prashamanam. In Swastasya Swasya also herbs plays very important role. And this session, basically we have all the legendary personalities both from classical and contemporary side, and we are just trying to have as much as their knowledge, their research work, because somewhere nowadays Ayurveda is demanding globally. We are lacking somewhere. This is my message as a practitioner plus as an academician as well, that world is demanding Ayurveda. You can see n number of foreigners here. I'm practicing in Mumbai, there also. So world is demanding Ayurveda. We should prepare. This is era of Ayurveda. So we all should prepare, and this is actually in your hand now. So basically you are fortunate. I used to come to Coimbatore. Let me speak, if Malaji allowed me to speak about Krishna Kumarji. So during my MD first year, I did masters in Ayurveda Sanhita. So I used to come to Coimbatore, and that time I used to listen the lectures of this legendary personalities like M. Prasad sir, Nambodari sir and all. So I'm blessed that I got that opportunity during my masters itself. And like students sitting, backstage, they are fortunate that during their PG itself, they are able to attend these sessions. And that time Krishna Kumarji has that vision. But, after COVID, this is the first time, Malaji, I came to Coimbatore after Krishna Kumarji passed away, and you make it possible. Otherwise, we always had that thought where we will go. But no, we have that platform where we can learn, where we can propagate Ayurveda in its scientific and authentic form. So thank you so much, Malaji. And I would really wanted to say thanks to organizer that, the students got exposure with, direct communication with this stalwarts of Ayurveda. So when I want to talk about the drug, herbs and formulation, so starting from Triphala Churna ही जब हम लेते हैं, so you see the patient, some are getting constipated, some are getting purgation. So, we need a proper quality medicines. We need to talk about the adulteration. We need to see how we can provide, good quality medicines to, like patients. That's how we will able to stand firmly on global platform with Ayurveda. So now I would like to invite our panelists.
So, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the panelists to the session, and welcome to the session chair. So, let's welcome panelists one by one.
Kumar sir is there, no? Yeah, so first I would like to welcome Dr. Sasikumar Nechiyil sir. So sir is founder, director and chief executive officer at Siddheshwara Drugs, chief physician at Nechiyil Ayurveda Vidyashala and Nursing Home, former professor and HOD at Vishnu Ayurveda Medical College, BMS from VPSV Ayurveda College, MD from Gujarat Ayurveda University, specializing in Rasya Shastra and Vaishajya Kalpana, including drug research. One of the foremost authorities on Ayurveda in branch of Rasa Shastra, medical alchemy in Vedas. A fifth generation Vaidya of Nechiyil family lineage. Welcome you, sir. Then we have Dr. Bhupesh Patel, sir. Welcome, sir. Sir is Assistant Professor in Department of Dravya Guna, IPGT and RA, Gujarat Ayurveda University, Jamnagar, Gujarat, India. Dean, Faculty and Staff Welfare. Expert in Dravya Guna with over 20 published papers, specialized in herbs and formulation of classical texts, Ayurveda pharmacy and modernization of industry. Dr. Bhupesh R. Patel is an authority in research and guide to many in field of Dravya Guna Vijnana. Welcome you, sir. Then we have Mukund Sabnis, sir. Welcome you, sir. So, sir is founder and principal researcher at Jeevan Rekha Ayurveda Chikitsalaya and Research Center since 1996, where he has established more than 90 centers. His work in standardization of Ayurvedic medicine, supported with research, has contributed to recovery of patients dealing with various health conditions. Dr. Sabnis has delivered over 100 lectures and talks on Ayurveda in radio and television channels across the India. Welcome you, sir. So we have next panelist, Dr. Ajayan Sadanandan, sir. Welcome, sir. Sir is President, Center for Indian Medical Heritage, CIMH, AVP Medical Plant Garden, Palghat. Professor in Ayurveda for more than 15 years. Expert in plant conservation, propagation, cultivation of plants, etc. Has consulted to botanical gardens in various Ayurveda colleges and guided several ethno-medical botanical surveys in various states of India. Had presented and published various papers of plants at national and international level. Welcome you, sir. Then we have Dr. Piyush Juneja, sir. Welcome you, sir. So, sir is founder of IndianVaidyas.com, Ayurveda physician and consultant for national and international organizations in clinical trials, R&D, business development, regulatory affairs, and contract manufacturing. Specialized in infertility, female health disorder, sexual health, and cannabis. Received advanced certification from Academy of Medical Cannabis, treating over 15,000 patients, saved 1,000 lives during COVID-19 pandemic. We welcome you, sir. Yeah, so now we are at contemporary side. So we have Rangesh Parmesh, sir. Welcome, sir. So, sir is teacher of Ayurveda at two government Ayurveda college, Bangalore and Mysore, and research guide for over 15 years. Consulted and lectured in many countries for physicians in Western medicine. Involved in establishing Ayurveda clinics in Europe. Published several articles in international journals. Had authored many books, co-authored 5 chapters in Scientific Basis Ayurvedic Therapies, CRC Place, Florida, USA. Has given several seminars and workshops in India and abroad. Welcome you, sir. Then we have Ramesh Varier, sir. We welcome you, sir. Sir is Managing Director and Senior Physician at Ayurveda Nilayam, Madurai since 1987, known for integrating modern science with Ayurveda, presented at national and international conferences and universities, conducted medical education program, research endeavors, headed a team converting Ayurvedic formulation, that is Kashayam to tablets, formulated 20 plus proprietary formulation for specific ailments, developed specialized Ayurvedic treatment for chronic ailments. We welcome you, sir. So we have next stalwarts from same field, that is Dr. PMS Raveendranath, sir. We welcome you, sir. So, sir is founder and CMO of Pontatam Ayurvedashram, graduated from Ayurveda College, Coimbatore, which adopted Gurukula, trained in yoga, Kalari, and philosophy. Acquired his clinical skills under Sri Vaidyanatham Vilaya Narayanan Nambodari, Ashtavedya tradition in Kerala. Founded Puntatam Ayurvedashram in 1989, where he focused on authentic Ayurvedic treatment. The Ayurvedic preparation for clinics are produced at his own manufactory. So next we have Dr. Somit Kumar sir from AVP. We welcome you, sir. So sir is director and CSO at AVP RF and director of research at AVP Research Foundation, Coimbatore, specialized in clinical research and reverse pharmacology in Ayurveda with focus on diabetic wound healing, involved in research on Duchenne muscular dystrophy, that is DMD, and customized Ayurvedic therapy for type 2 diabetes. With 13 years of clinical experience presented at various national and international seminars. We welcome you, sir. So with all your permission, can we start with the session?
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to all the honorable panelists on the stage, the session chair, and all the dignitaries who have come to attend this session. So speaking on herbs and formulations, measure of our Ayurveda that we are gifted with the laurels of Ayurveda that we are into using what that is comes from the ground, that is from the soil, using herbs. We are called the herbal medicine, we are called the safe medicine. But however, we are into a little bit of nitty-gritties that it is adulterated, that it is substituted, and also we are into a little bit of mixopathy. So let's find answers to all of that in this session. So let's get excited and get into the session. So before we actually start, let's start with the Purva Paksha. I'd like to start with the classical panel. So over to Piyush Juneja, sir, from the classical panel. Sir, what are your thoughts on herbs and formulations? Over to Piyush Juneja, sir. Sir will telling us about the herbs and formulations. So for your Purva Paksha,
Yeah,
please.
thank you so much. And first of all, thanks to Malaji for connecting for this session. First, this nice place. And I think this exercise and this activity what we are doing is very essential for the entire community. From last 17 years, I've worked exhaustively in the international space as well as pharma is concerned, as well as into the Ayurveda space as well. First time I am seeing the top level brains on one side academic, on one side pharma, on one side classical and contemporary are under one roof in this huge numbers. So thank you so much for this. I have a limited time, 3 minutes to start. So I quickly touch upon the questions which have been there in the agenda and for which we all will be discussing today. So prior to that, there are two aspects which you need to understand starting from the previous session. And in this session also the classical and contemporary will be in argument and we'll be talking about the medicines, various forms. We need to understand one basic thing is the classical is the backbone, the classical fundamentals, the classical knowledge, the inheritance is the backbone and that has to be there. And I completely agree with Saraf sir as well that we are not supposed to question what exactly Charak and Sushruta has written. It's just we are not having that kind of intellect till now that we are not able to understand the entire Samhita in the decoded form. So it's like maybe we are understanding some aspects to some extent. So please understand that. After that, there can be compilations. After that, there can be interpretations. There can be translations. There can be various versions, and we can agree or disagree to some extent. But whatever is written in Charak and Sushrut is not at all we are supposed to question, because if we are not questioning physics, maths, science, whatever subjects we are teaching, the languages we are learning, that who has developed these words. So I don't think so there is a point in going to that. On that context, definitely we always request, always talk to the companies and the manufacturers that on one side please have the classical thing intact, but on the other side you need to understand the compliance and the acceptability to the patient. So I've created a 6P formula for that, and the first question was what is in a tablet or capsule and what makes the formula Ayurveda. So just to touch upon this, if we go to the history, and I again disagree with one of the panelists, one of the oldest one is Ayurveda, and after that everything has been evolved and it has been documented, well proven as well. And if you want proof, I can talk on one-to-one basis. Now, second thing is, in 1800, if you see British medical journals, they have published certain papers on Indian aconite or Indian hemp or so many other plants, and we got access to some papers. So again, ultimately, they have taken the inherited knowledge from here. And now, if you talk about the top 10 painkillers, we had a session on Ayur Emergency Yatra recently at All India Institute of Ayurveda and Jyoti Prakash. Both my session was at both institutes, acute pain management in Ayurveda. And if you talk about the top 10 painkillers of the world, either they are natural or synthetic derivatives of opioids. And opioids is a theme which is mentioned in Ayurveda thousands of years back. If you see your Schedule E1 list, the number one medicine is a theme in the Schedule E1 list of Ministry of Ayush in 2018. 2016 they have released, in which you are not supposed to take these medicines without a prescription of an Ayurveda doctor or a Vaidya. In that, the number one is Afim. And the top 10 painkillers, most of them are opioid derivatives. And now when the world is facing opioid crisis, another second number herb from that list is cannabis, which is officially decreasing 40% of opioid addictions in the West, in the US and other part of this world. And many international people will agree with me. So point here is everything is coming from Ayurveda. So if anything in any form of herb or mineral is there in a capsule with the form of Ayurveda classical context, or you can say it contemporary, it is Ayurveda. It is definitely related to Ayurveda. And the next question was, should the products be redeveloped based on current available ingredients? Yes, we can, but we need to understand 6 P's. One is, first P is purification. So the purification starting from the ecosystem, that how you are cultivating the herb should be there in terms of the land where you are cultivating the herbs, in terms of the toxic elements which are getting into that herb due to the cultivation. Second is the potency. So at that time when our acharyas thousands of years ago written those classical formulations, the potency of herb at some that level which maybe are not at that level right now to some geographical locations. If you go to some native places in Kerala or in Himalayas, you can still get the best potency. But if you are cultivating the same herb to some other locations, sometimes that potency is not that much. So you need to understand that as well. Third is the process.
Yes,
So are you following the classical process? I'm just concluding in 30 seconds. Are you following the process or not? And then packaging, be it the classical, but the packaging should be there. And sometimes we need to evolve as well. For example, I practice in an urban population in a cosmopolitan setup. So sometimes the young teenagers, when I'm treating PCOD, they will not take Gritam in the raw form, but
Yes,
they can
thank you
take
very
in the
much,
soft gel form as well.
Yes, sir.
And the price and the practice. So these 6 P's are very important if you are talking about classical medicines of Ayurveda, but that has to be
Piyush
there.
sir,
Thank
sorry
you.
to interrupt.
Thank you.
We are lacking behind the time. I'm sorry. Can we have, sir, your Purva Paksha, please? Because we have 9 panelists, we have restricted the time to 3 minutes. Kindly, my sincere apology for the same.
Namaste. Respected great gurus of Ayurveda, great scholars, teachers, students. So it's a great opportunity to discuss something regarding Dravya and formulations. So with all your permission, we can go through the 4 questions what most of them wanted to know about that. Om Guruve Namaha. Om Satguruve Namaha. Om Prabhanja Shaktyaya Namaha. So the first question is, what's a formulation is? Means what is an yoga? The word itself is telling that the ideal qualities bringing together in a particular place, that is the yoga. So here the formulations is depending upon a person who is sitting in front of you. He needs whatever the necessary things to a physician, from a physician. He has to deliver what the essential things in the most form. So that we have to attain the Siddhi Ubhaya Chikitsa, the ultimate end goal. That is, he has to be relieved from that particular problem. For that, making a formulation is based on Paradi Gunas. These Paradi Gunas are mentioned to give a comprehensive approach to the person who is sitting in front of you. So that is the classical way of writing a prescription. So usually if you see, you are sitting with a great teacher, he will start to take a paper and start to write one by one. The ultimate thing and the most important thing, Agre Dravya, that is needed for that particular person comes in the prescription first. Next, along with that, supporting medicines will come. So all these Paradibunam, Param, Arvarutum, Yukti, Sankhya, Pradaktum, all these will come into a role in making a formulations. So that is the formulations. Then comes, is it necessary that if something is not available in that yogam, it can be replaced with something other thing? Surely. There is some ways mentioned in our classics. Our Acharyas are approached with this. So it's starting from the Desha. The ecological background, where the plant is growing, that decides the pharmacology of that plant. What the physical qualities that are gathered from that particular geographical area, that decides the plant's action. So that has to be looked. Then we have to look into the Samanya Panchabhautikatva that is present in that. Then we will go for the Guna assessment. The important part in that is the Guna assessment. Then only we will go for a Virya assessment and a Rasa assessment, and then everything is suit. Then we will go for replacing a particular drug with another thing. This is called, sometimes we can call it as a substitute or a pradinidhi or something else. And another thing is, the question is, should the products be redeveloped or redesigned according to the need today? Surely, the product can be redesigned or redeveloped. That also mentioned in our classics. If something is not there, or some person is needed something extra, we have to look into a new drug and new method of adopting a treatment to that particular conditions. That type of an independence is given by our Acharyas. And the last thing is, we can make a capsule or tablet in the modern way like that? Surely we can make it. What the patient is desiring, what the physician is decides, depending upon that, we can make into a formulations or a changing of form or anything. So something, it has to be dissolved in the second part of the duodenum, we can make it like that. But something has to be start from our tongue itself, then we can't make like that. So that will be decided by, ultimately decided by the physician's need and according to the patient's also. If some unpalatability is there, then the patient is unable to take that medicine, we have to depend upon some other means to give that medicines. So that's as done by our Vaidyas or Acharyas. So some unpalatable medicine is there, they will engulf it within the banana piece or maybe within a Gouda, then they will try it, make it into a small tablet, and then it will be given. So on the intestines, it will be dissolved and it will add to the problems, they will be solved. So like that, there are plenty of options are there. That type of a broad thinking and concepts are in Ayurveda. I think these types of great gurus will be here and so many other resource persons there. We can put so many good things for the future of Ayurveda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So as our questions have been stated, what is actually in a pill or capsule? Most of the question is on the contemporary side. Let's see how the debate validates the use of pill and a capsule. And the next question is about what makes a formulation or a product Ayurvedic. In our recent times, we have been so many with shampoos, hair washes, and a lot of telling about Ayurveda with really little drug in it. So can that be an Ayurvedic product? And next is, keeping into consideration the current availability of drugs, should the formulations be reformed is the third discussion. And next would be on the point of adulteration and substitutions. Would it be able to give the full potency? So with these points, we shall continue with the Purupaksha. Over to Sasikumar, sir.
These are questions. So my humble pranam to the great visionary Sri Krishna Kumarji and the very learned audience who gathered here. I'm so happy to be here with you people to discuss some of the angles of Ayurveda. And coming to the questions, what makes the formula? What is the yoga? Yugapat idbhava yoga. So there is some joining together. What is joining together? So whenever you are thinking about a yoga or medicine, first of all, you have to think the pathology. According to the pathology, we drafted the yoga. So Sushruta correctly stated that samprapti vikhattana meva chikitsa. So our formulations are addressing, actually in the correct sense, it's not for the disease, but to correct one state of samprapti. After correcting that samprapti, it will shift to another samprapti. So we have to change the formulation. For this, the drug formulations are used for. Actually, what is the disease? Disease is raga. Basic cause of the disease is raga. So what is the medicine? Medicine is ananda, the bliss. This Vagbhata starts with Ragadiroga Sahaja Samula. Because it's covering total Ayurveda, Nidana, Samprapti, treatment. But when you come to Rasa Ratna Samuchaya, it's stated that Yasya Anandodbhava Mangalagala Sambhavitena Spurat Dhamna Karuna Vichasura. It's stating about the Ananda, the bliss, which is not happiness, which is not sadness. So, can you develop the happiness in the body? I mean, bliss in the body. That is a drug, that is a yoga. Suppose there is a pain, if you are giving pain relieving medicine, means what is developing in him? A bliss is developing. So that is the basic core concept. And our formulations are sometimes, some portions also, of course, we are addressing symptomatically in some time. But the core, when you are coming to the core treatment of Ayurveda, it is addressing the samprapti vikhatana. Maybe it's Samana Chikitsa, maybe Shodhana Chikitsa, maybe Rasayana Chikitsa. So in Rasayana Chikitsa, what we are doing, when we are correcting the samprapti, at the same time, we are nourishing the total body. That's why always we are giving prominence to Rasayana. That's why Charaka starting the treatment of yoga, describing the Rasayanas. So whether it is possible to regenerate or develop some new combinations, always we are, if you are looking into the very old physicians' prescriptions, they are not at all using the textual, classical, the said yogas. They will make some mutations, some corrections into that yoga according to the Kala, according to the Prakriti, according to the Samprapti. For example, Rasayana Kashaya. When you are prescribing Rasayana Kashaya, in some patients, we are observing that it may develop some constipation because of its presence of Ativisha. So the physician will do what he will do. He will replace sometime. That's an example I am telling. He will replace that Ativisha with Haritaki so that the same Pachana will be there and the laxity will be there.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry to interrupt you. Your time is over. So, sir was on point to use, has also cited a very good example of how to use classics. So, let's move ahead with the Purvapaksha from Dr. Bhupesh Patel, sir. Please, sir.
Gurve Namaha. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers to provide me the stage to share my views. I will start from a short story, real story. In research, when we are screening the vasa is used by the extractive, that is vasaicin. I will make it short. And vasaicin introduced to mice that is pregnant, and that too in intravenous way. And it creates abortion to that mice. And the label stick to the vasa is abortify, having abortify effect. So this is the blunder when we don't exactly perceive the classical way to study or classical way for perception of the Dravya Guna or in general Ayurveda. So my point is, because all the 4 points, that is formula, capsule and tablet, then the labeling of Ayurveda, formula of Ayurveda, then the substitution and the adulteration, all about regarding the guna. It depends on the guna. If we perceive the property of the guna, all the 3 sutras, because Aushad stands last in Tri Sutra, that is Hetu, Ling and Aushad. And if we consider the Hetu and Ling perfectly, then and then accordingly we can use the Aushada. And while preparing the Aushada, we have to be very careful regarding which particular condition we are going to use, and by seeing the Hetu and Ling and all these things. And after seeing the Guna, the formulation or the Vaishajya Kalpana is regarding the Gunantara Dhan. So, in nutshell, it is nothing but regarding the Guna and Gunantara Dhan. And if we administer all these things, that is Guna and Gunantara Dhan accordingly and on the basis of the classic, then it makes some sense. And then there is no problem whether it is Ayurvedic or non-Ayurvedic. I think it is so enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to Mukund, Sabnis, sir. Please, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Regarding the herbs and the herbal formulation, the most important thing I want to tell that Ayurveda formulations are not broad spectrum. They are short spectrum as per the classics. You can't use any formulation anywhere in Ayurveda because Purusham Viksham, that is one of the most important notation given in the Sutra Sthan chapter 1, 123rd slok. And that's very important. Second thing, when we talk about the formulation, as Sir said, and there are a number of issues with that the most important issue is the correct dosage form, the correct Aushad Sevan Kal, which is completely ignored. We can't define the doses of the formulations, what we are making in the contemporary. How they are decided, 2 capsules twice a day. There is no scientific basis for that because we have not gone through the half-life of the drugs. On what basis? So Aushad Sevan Kal is also the same context, that we are not following the complete posology. Whatever has been mentioned in each and every grantha, posology has been explored very nicely, which is not at all followed very correctly. And that has a very bad impact on the results. And third, very important thing, that is the potency of the drugs. So these potency of the drugs, whatever the Panchavidha Kashaya Kalpana are there, those Panchavidha Kashaya Kalpana are meant to use in a fresh form. They are not to be stored. They can't be stored at all with a preservative. And when they are stored, their actual pharmacological impact, they will be losing their pharmacological impact if they are stored. So it's very wrong thing to preserve the Panchavidha Kashaya Kalpana. If you are selling swaras, if you are selling juices, if you are selling the kadhas in the bottle, and the expiry is 6 months, they are not pure Ayurvedic herbs. They are the shelf life is no way with the Panchavidha Kashaya Kalpana that is to be followed very correctly.
Yes, sir.
So I think I'll end here. Thank you.
Pardon me for interrupting you in between. We're running out of time. So over to the contemporary panel. Over to first Rangesh Parmesh, sir. Please, sir.
Submitting pranams to Padma Shri, late Dr. Krishna Kumar ji, and thanking Professor Mala Kapadia ji for inviting me to be here on this occasion to express our views. As it is known to you, I come from the background of academics and from there moved into the industry. I just wanted to clarify here very distinctly that when we are talking about Ayurvedic drug, herbs and formulations has been described. I mean, that's the title of this session. I want to make a clarification here that this word Ayurveda has been used right, left, and center. Unfortunately, without realizing that what makes the difference between. This will be known to you subsequently when we go further and what's happening to the other parts of the world. Ayurveda, as you all know very well, is nothing but biology, basically. Ayu, Veda, Bios, Logos, biology. Very simple. when the purpose, the prayojanam of Ayurveda has been described by Charaka as swasthya matrasya vikara prashamanam, then we have to differentiate this Ayurveda into two. One is Ayurveda, the other one is Ayurvedic medicine. So we here, we are all physicians, we talk only the second part of it, Ayurvedic medicine. Because Ayurveda per se to talk about as a bioscience, and biomedical science is our forte, wherein we all as physicians talk about. But for this Ayurveda as a bioscience, tomorrow you have the session on food. That will deal more on this one. Because food is what everyone consumes every day. Okay, that is part of the bioscience that has to be, that is for everyone. When it comes to this biomedical science, the Ayurvedic medicine that we have to very clearly say, precisely by a regulatory term, it should be called as Ayurvedic drug. Okay, not even medicine. So the Drugs and Cosmetics Act defines Ayurvedic drug very distinctly. As you know very well, in Ayurvedic medicine, the biomedical science, which is described, Charaka says Triskandam, as one of the panelists said, Triskandam, in that if you look at this Aushadha holds the pivotal role, although it is the last role. Rogamado Briksheta, Tato Anantaram Aushadam, as is said. So Aushadha is a very important thing. But this Aushadha is made out of what? The resource. The source of this Aushadha, how do you make it? And Charaka has already said there are only three sources.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. We need to listen a lot from you, sir.
One second. So since it is this Jangama and Parthiva has taken a back seat, but Audbida is the foremost, and this Audbida is what the herbs and formulations that we are talking in this session. So we'll go further on that one. So I'll hand over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for want of time, I think I'll plunge straight into the topic. I think from the primary glance, it looks like there are no two sides. There seems to be only one side which we talk about. All questions have been answered in the same manner. All of us have. I think one main problem is out of the question, whether nothing is changeable. I think we have all answered that straight away. Yeah, so I think that being put aside, I think we need to look at, when we talk about Ayurveda, I just like to give some opening comments. We need to look at it as a personal medicine, which is what the world is coming to on one side, where one doctor is treating one patient. The medicine in the context of 1:1 is very different from medicine in the context of bulk manufactured for multiple people's use, as in pharmacy, modern pharmacy. So when all these discussions, we need to know the context in which we are discussing. So if you are talking about a manufacturer doing the preparation and then giving it to somebody else, several other questions come into the picture. I think especially in India, we have this privilege that an Ayurvedic doctor can prepare his own medicines and dispense legally to his patients, but most parts of the world, you are not permitted to. If you have to dispense a medicine, it has to be done by a approved authority, a pharmacy. So I think when we talk about, like in the previous session, we spoke about Ayurveda in the context of, are we talking about preserving what we are doing here? Or are we talking about Ayurveda as relevant throughout the world? I think different questions need to be answered. I think even as the panelists, as the organizers, you need to say in which context do we want the discussion to go forward. If it's on a one-on-one basis, a lot of questions are already answered. It's pretty easy. But if it's at a international level where we say it's a pharmacy that has to produce, several questions come into the picture which need to be addressed. We cannot say that we are different. I think it's the biggest reason why Ayurveda is not reaching major parts of the world is because of the pharmacy. The products are not importable in most countries in the world. Wherever it is possible, it is already gone. But where it is not possible, the biggest impediment is that the pharmacy, any country needs to know how to regulate the product. They are asking, they want the products, their population wants the product, but the country needs to know how to regulate the product. Even we as a country, we are not yet clear how we can ensure this product is good, this product is not good. I think that's where we are stuck. This is just an opening remark that I'm saying. Hundreds of such questions are there which need to be deliberated, answered. I'm not sure we have answers to all of them, but at least I think most of us are trying to find answers in our own way to address small concerns. But then the very fact that things need to be ultimately for the consumer and they need to be made contemporary. We cannot be isolating ourselves and saying that Ayurveda is an island and We still sit with what was said earlier. Some things are not practical today. In fact, I'm sure we all have experiences. I was born and brought up taking only our medicines, classical medicines, but I couldn't make my son take one kashayam for whatever I knew. I tried my level best. He would spit it the moment I put it into his mouth. What do I do? Okay, right. These and other questions I hope we'll explore during the course of the dialogue. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. We have different questionnaire for you as well, sir.
Gurubhyo Nama. My humble pranams to my great guru, Vaidyamatham Varier Nambudiri, and the great Padma Shri Krishna Kumarji, who made me eligible to stand here. Anyway, as Dr. Ramesh put it, it's very interesting to note that there are no two angles, because almost all, not almost, every one of the panelists, they are classically oriented, as well as they are also contemporary. So contemporary and classical, it becomes almost like an adhivyakti, because this cannot be differentiated that way. Anyway, as far as Ayurveda is concerned, classical is something which is explained in old. See, the problem is we can't even differentiate up to which level is classical, because Ayurveda is an evolving science. It's an evolving Shastra. What is given in Charaka Sushruta, that period, there are a lot of modifications which Vagbhada made. And from that level, when it comes to the Bhava Prakasha and that level, Sharangadhara, etc., still there are a lot of modifications. And now still there are modifications. I think it is ideal. It should be like that only, because when something is not evolving, then there is some problem somewhere. The stagnation is not considered to be a good idea in anything, in any knowledge stream. And also Ayurveda is a social science as well. So what is applicable, so we are trying to help the people, basically. So their culture, their way of living, everything plays a major role in what we do. Then only we will be able to really help them. Not that we are just asking them to continue what they do. To the possible extent, we should try to correct them. But at the same time, their way of life, especially if a person is just traveling for his job, we cannot just ask him to just carry the kashayam with him, because it's not practical. At the same time, if a person is at home, there is no problem, or if the herbs are available with him, they can just make the kashayam. This is the way we were practicing in the beginning. They were making all the kashayams at home. Then we started making kashayams and started selling to them. And there also we found problem that there are a lot of preservatives added, and it is not good for the body. And that was the point in which we started thinking about making the tablets out of it. And it is really working very well also. If a person really wants to, just 1 second, if a person wants to have the rasa in the mouth, they can easily chew the tablet and then take it. There is no problem in it. But if they are not taking the medicine just because of the taste, then it is one condition where we have to think what to do next. Okay, we'll just discuss that later.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to Vaidya Somit Kumar, sir.
Gurubhyo Namaha, the lotus feet of my mentor Krishna Kumarji. So there are a few thoughts which I wanted to share, and I start with the thought that Ayurveda is an immense possibility. And if you look at even in Shastric classification of Panchvid Kashaya Kalpana, Shushruta has talked about Shadvid Kashaya Kalpana, and he talked about Chir Kashaya as a separate Kashaya Kalpana, where it was one of the most earliest thought process of how an emulsion, where both polar and non-polar, there is oil soluble particles in the chira or in milk, as well as it's a water soluble property. So that means this thought process now we can implement or comprehend from a modern perspective, modern biology perspective. But it was very much ingrained. That thought process was given very much thought about it. Another important reference I'll give it from Harita Samhita. Harita talks about 7 Kashaya Kalpanas. And it was not based on Sita Kashaya or Phanta Kashaya, but it was based on karma. And the best part of the first Kashaya Kalpana, what was told was Prasadana Kashaya Kalpana, which was how to prepare, it was just take a tea, herbal tea. Today, West is utilizing Ayurveda herbs as a tea. We may be critical about it, but Harita himself has talked about Shrita Kashaya Kalpana, that you just take the composition and put it in hot water for some time, and that is for prasadana. It is for prevention of the disease. It's not curing of the disease. Only in the third level of his Kashaya Kalpana, he talks about the cure of the disease. So when we talk about both Swastasya Swasya Rakshana, Atura Vikara Prasamana, this thought process have gone into a basic thought process in our Samhitas also. Another important thing I want to add is 5 basic thought process which goes behind our whole formulation. First is the nature of the raw material, whether we have to use raw herb as a swarasa, fresh or dry. So that's why the first Sarandra starts with whether we have to sushka ardha niyam. And it talks about, guduchi may not be doubled in quantity. Why? That means we knew that whether it is ardra or shushka, the concentration of that active which we think about is same whether we take sushka or ardra. Second one is important, is concentration of the dosage form. Now, why this is important? If you go into our concentration, if it is aushadha, which is very katin aushadha, we add 32 times of water. If it is madhya, we add 16 times of water. If it is mridu, we add 8 times water during kashaya. So, what is the time? Then another thing is, what is the time required to extract those principles? So, these are very important things. Next one is, one very important thing was based on Arka Kalpana. See, Ravana started Arka Kalpana, but there was a deep thought that there are certain things which is volatile in nature. So, if you look at the Panchabhida Kashaya Kalpana spanned out into 38 different Kalpanas, even in classical texts, where, Arishta Asava, which is a offshoot of Kashaya Kalpana, Arishta Asava is Swarasa Kalpana. Then you have Churna Prakshepa into it, and you introduce a new technology of biotechnology. It is, they draw microbes from Buddhipurokta Fudikasa and create a in situ fermentation. So, if they were so profound in their whole imagination of what could be the possibilities of Kalpanas in Ayurveda, we should not restrict. I think we should allow the need to innovation come within us and think innovative to solve new age problems.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. And that's the end of Purva Paksha. So in the classical panel, they were on the point how to get there with the classical samhitas and the points that we had to acquire to combat a disease in a patient. As well, on the contemporary side, they were on the point how to adhere with the present day points. So with this, we'll start with the discussion. So let's start with the first question, sir. So what actually is in a pill or a capsule? Since the question is more oriented to the contemporary side, I'd like to start with the contemporary side. First with Rangesh Parmesh, sir. What is actually in a pill or a capsule?
As you know, pill or capsule is a solid dosage form. So obviously it contains these active ingredients. And in this context, if I may be limited or permitted to only to herbs, so it will be herbal ingredients. It may be in the form of a powder, or it may be in the form of an extract. So in order to keep them binding well, so there are a lot of excipients which have to be used. So to keep them in the true solid form, and being very solid itself doesn't help in any way, because they need to disintegrate as it is consumed orally. Most of the dosage forms are always consumed orally, so actually it has to disintegrate. So there are disintegrants. So then binders, disintegrants, and most importantly, when there is a need for establishing what is known as a metered dose. each tablet or each capsule, when it is designed to contain that much quantity of a active ingredient, so naturally these excipients are mixed together in such a way that each tablet compressed or each capsule filled should deliver that. That's a very, very important regulatory requirement all over the world. And in that context, what happens, there may be, depending upon the nature of these extracts or herbs, because of their the rheology, that some of them have low bulk density, some of them high bulk density. Based on that, so there is a need for fillers. So fillers have to be used. So beyond that, there are certain times a requirement of either a coloring agent or even sometimes the preservatives as well. Very rare that you find them until unless they are very, very soft and liquid in nature. So these are the excipients which are allowed to make them into a very solid dosage forms, either the capsules or a tablet.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Ramesh, Varier, sir, do you have anything to add on to point what sir has already mentioned?
Yeah, I think just a point which sometimes becomes a point of controversy is what type of extract. Because we generally in the classics we have been told about only aqueous extracts, and we also have hydroalcoholic extract as in the case of an aristam. Otherwise, it's a pure powder or just a swarasa. So otherwise, we are not mentioning about use of any other solvents in the classic literature. But is a solvent extract an Ayurveda or is it against the principle of Ayurveda is a question that we need to address as well. I would go to say that, I am coming from a broader perspective of Ayurveda which says Jagatyeva manaushadam na kinchit vidyate. So whatever you do, it is not outside the purview of Ayurveda. The only thing is you must know what is going to happen as a pros and cons of whatever you do. Every decision has got a pro and a con. So we need to identify both that and then use it in the appropriate context. Then even a solvent extract is fine, because when the Acharyas talk to us that anything in the world is medicine, including we know how even Sarpa Visha has been used in Udara Chikitsa. So even something as toxic as that has been straight away recommended for use. But you don't give it to every Tom, Dick and Harry. So when there is a situation for a drug that is for oncology, the side effect profile that is accepted or which is permissible is very high as compared to something that is given to you as a daily nutritional supplement. There the safety tolerance is very, very low. So there is a proportion even when we talk about the indication, the type of this thing. Of course, we are now bracketing everything under the single heading of Ayurveda and trying to look at everything with the same lens. Then it becomes very complicated. We need to have a layered system of, telling what is appropriate for what. The basic strength of Ayurveda, I think, has been in the Hetu Viparita Chikitsa, which is absolutely safe. When the priority is on safety, that is where the real traditional classical method of doing things have given the maximum priority, where maximum safety. If necessary, don't even give a medicine, just lifestyle would be good enough, and so on.
As mentioned in Purva Paksha by Mukund Sabnis sir, that Panchavid Kashaya Kalpana, if we actually add preservative and make its shelf life for the 6 months, so it will not be Panchavid Kashaya Kalpana as per our text. And Raveendranath sir on same time talked about the, there is importance of Panchavid Kashaya Kalpana, but during traveling and all, with that, we have so many challenges as well, which are very practical. So you talked about the Kashayam tablets. So your opinion first, and like on sir's question that it doesn't, when we add the preservative, it won't be Panchavid Kashaya Kalpana. And what about the tablet? What is your opinion, sir?
As I said in the first part, that Ayurveda is not a broad spectrum. So most important thing is that every dosage form or every kalpana has its own indications, which has been clearly mentioned in Ayurvedic texts. It is not like allopathy that you don't have a derifylin tablet, go for a derifylin injection. The pharmacological impacts and the pharmacological effects of Ashwagandha Churna, Ashwagandha Swaras, Ashwagandha Fant, Him, Ashwagandha Arishta are totally different. The receptors on the body are also different. because the phytochemicals which are emerging out of these kalpanas or out of these dosage forms, they have different targets in the body, different tissues are affected with the bodies. So, first of all, you can't change the kalpanas as per your own view. Okay, Ashwagandha Churna has been advised, I am taking Ashwagandha Swaras. No, it is, you have to take Ashwagandha Churna only on that particular diseases, to target that particular disease. That's very important. Secondly, when you are telling that we can add preservatives to Panchavit Kashaya Kalpana, maybe we are preserving Swarasa, maybe Amla Swaras, maybe aloe juices, and we are adding preservatives to it. Most important thing is that these preservatives, whether the actual phytochemicals which are active at the presence of formation of the Kalpana, are they active? Are those phytochemicals present in that form when we are preserving it, and whether they are having a real impact on the body? Nobody has seen. That's very important. Nobody has seen that whether real swaras of amla and preserved amla swaras has the same effects. And that is the very big problem with Ayurveda industry, that we are selling it without any studies. And I have seen that Ashwagandha, we have worked on Haridra, and we have worked on the Haridra's antimicrobial activity, and we came to know that Haridra's extract, maybe 15-20% curcuminoids, don't exhibit antimicrobial activity as Haridra Churna. Similarly, we have gone with Shatavari Swara, Shatavari Hema, Shatavari Fund. Their activities are totally different. Their HPLC studies, their FTIR studies are totally different. Their physiochemical studies are totally different. And as per the science, when the physiochemical changes are there, there are definitely pharmacological changes. So these can't be preserved.
Yes.
These are
Thank
to be
you
used
very much,
as
sir.
it is.
Yes. Can I have a rebuttal on this? Agree. So we did a very interesting study with this Swarasa, and we used new technology, freeze-dried technology,
Freeze-dried.
supercritical, freeze-dried. Now,
lyophilized.
And what we did was, see, we took the Amla Swarasa, we took Amla Churna, same batch, same thing, and we took this Amla Swarasa into freeze-dried. What we found out, the same batch of Amla which was dried, we had no vitamin C or all those phytochemicals which was present in Swarasa. But it was almost present in the freeze-dried technology powder which we got. Now, lyophilization. So what I'm trying to say that, but the question that, have we tested it clinically? No. That these are the initiatives with pharmaceutical industry has to take, whether we have to revalidate. Okay, phytochemically we have seen the bands are there, but how effective it is clinically is a question. Thank you for.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Sir's on the point that phytochemicals are not a compromise. Over to Raveendranath, sir. Do you have anything to add on to this, sir?
I have not tested the phytochemicals in that, but what I think is the thing is, we are speaking to mostly the students. My idea is any Vaidya who is beginning the practice should have one's own, at least a small pharmacy. Because that is the way you can do something which you really want to do. At least a small pharmacy should be there so that you can really, depending on the condition of the patient who is coming, you will be able to use whichever way possible. See, for example, we are practicing in a village area in Palakkad district. So there, getting a Swarasa is not a problem at all. Because even when we have our own access to get Tulasi or Vasha or Nirgundi, all those things, everything is available. So even if we ask the patients to do that, they will do it. It's very easy, it is very cost effective. And in such conditions, we can definitely tell them to do it. It's very effective also, very effective. Swarasam, in fact, is extremely effective, even more than the Kashayam in many contexts. But as far as the Kashayam is concerned, the problem is to make it cost effective, you can ask them to prepare the Kashayam. But even the people who are not earning anything or it is very difficult for them, they are also refusing that it is not possible because they are just staying for making the kashayam, they cannot go for the work. So the thing is, that is the condition in which we started making medicines, making kashayams. Definitely, the lack of preservative is so important in the kashayam tablets because patients are coming to Ayurveda for complete relief, for which they will have to continue the medicines for a longer period. And longer period taking the kashayam with a lot of preservatives, we don't know really what are all the problems which are coming up with that. And another one is, if you are asking them to take the kashayam, they will take in the beginning of the disease, when the disease is extremely intense. But the moment it reduces to slightly, they will just stop it because other compromises, other problems will come in the life, so that they will give more importance to that. These are all the practical reasons why we are really using the tablets and the capsules and all the dosage forms. But along with that, we are also using the Arishtam, Lehyam, the Thailam, everything. All the dosage forms are coming in our practice depending on the patients.
Yes, thank you very much, sir.
I just want to add one small input to the sir aspect. So we need to understand whether it is contemporary or classical. The entire aspect of a particular plant should be diffused and disseminated in the form of a medicine. I will just quickly give you one example. This particular herb, cannabis, the entire world is doing research. Many companies are doing isolates, many companies are doing active ingredient, but there are some companies who have agreed on this point that the full spectrum, the entire spectrum which is causing the entourage effect in the body is the best solution. People are working to reduce THC, which is the psychoactive compound, but still in some quantity the THC is also beneficial. That is also in the research studies. So that means that acharyas who have documented take the entire herb in the complete form. So it's not only always, if you go deep down, it's not only always about the active ingredients, it's about all the other profiles like the flavonoids, terpenes, so many other things when you look at that way. And in classical medicines already they have beautifully mentioned the entire thing. It's just how we are connecting the dots and as per our limited mindset are able to understand. I will just quickly give another example in 30 seconds. I will rest my mic. See, we know all these various types of gritams, kashayams, asavarishta, churna, gugul, vati, whatever. But if we understand why they have specifically, as sir correctly mentioned, and there is one example, if you are giving ashwagandha to anything which is related to this part of your body, and if you are not giving in the lipid soluble medium, it will not cross the blood-brain barrier and that will not give you that effect. So either you to go into the gritam concept or to the lipid soluble soft gels or whatever, it will not cross the blood-brain value when you given the ashwagandha churnam or whatever form. It's a basic aspect which has been proven in many research studies, and already our acharyas known that at that time. That's why they have prepared the gritam and other preparations also which can cross your blood-brain barrier easily, and you can have that effect as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. So contemporary panel were on the point that there's a change in the form from kashaya to kashaya tablet. So is there a compromise call on the adhering to the basic principles of Ayurveda? Over to Sasikumar, sir, please, sir.
Panchavita Kashaya Kalpana is there. From there we developed into Rasakriya. So Rasakriya is a concentration form of Panchavita Kashaya Kalpana only. But there we have to consider that it will be more guru in nature. So the digestion cup, you have to consider the agni of the patients. So you can see in that Rasakriya, we are adding some churnas for the more deepana. And also in encapsulation, we had that technique. We were doing encapsulation, not for preserving the medicine, but in some medicines will be making some irritations to the buccal cavity. So in such cases, we were adopting a technique of encapsulation. For example, the Vacha Churna, when we are giving to the small infants, so there's a technique that we should put some powder in the small banana pieces and allowing to swallow the babies. So the encapsulation, that technique is there not for preservation, for this protection of the drug irritation in the buccal cavity. So these two things are I have to highlight.
Thank you very much, sir.
As the contemporary panels said that the tablet and capsule can be adopted. But my point is, if the drug used as a whole, in that case, it is okay. Because we know the drug by virtue of its rasa panchaka. But when we are extracting the molecules or separated it by using different solvents, we make it dravyantara. So all the raspanchak can be applicable for that particular dravya. That is because there is nothing but the dravyantara. And that particular dravya acts fast. That's why we have adopted. And when it acts fast, it means it is ashukari. And generally, Vyavai and Vikasi, both gun are associated with ashukari. So it can be considered as wish first, and then prospectively we have to see the effect along with its side effect and all these things. Then and then we can adopt it. Otherwise, it is entirely different dravya. We make it dravyantar, and rather we make it vishakta. So this is my submission.
That I think to clarify, I am also of the opinion that unless you are using it in the whole form, as has been mentioned in the textbook, I think it should not be called a classic product. For example, you say this is a kashayam made into a tablet. We cannot have the extracts through a solvent system or whatever and then call it a kashayam tablet. I think I agree fully with you, but what is being done by us is the whole kashaya is made dehydrated, the moisture is removed and it is tableted. Exactly, it's the same kashaya. If you regenerate the kashayam from this, you cannot distinguish between the two. Freshly, in fact, we validated all that in the process of preparing the kashayam tablets. We did entire spectrum studies. We prepared for every kashayam, we prepared the standard traditional method with just that portion of herbs, prepared into a fresh kashaya, and we also did it in this method, reconstituted it in water and compared the two. The profiles were exactly matching. Only then I think it should be called a classic product. Otherwise, it has to be something proprietary. You cannot still say it is not Ayurveda, but it is different. I think it is not, you cannot just take Maharasnadi Kashayam and the benzene extract or the methanolic extract of Maharasnadi Kashayam is not same as classical Maharasnadi Kashayam. That's what I think.
There is one very, very important point regarding using of kashaya and making a tablet out of it kashaya. In the rehearsal also we discussed that whenever we consume any medicines, they work through the taste receptors. Because all Ayurvedic medicines, they are said to be worked by rasa. And here the taste receptors which are there in the mouth, they activate the extragustatory taste receptor that we call as GPCR taste receptors. And then we can have an impact on the tissues of the medicines through the taste, through the GPCR taste receptors, which are activated by the oral taste receptors. This is very important. So tasting the medicine is very important. It's no doubt it's an issue that it is our medicines or kashayams are not palatable. It's a different aspect of how we can make it palatable. But when it comes to science, if the gustatory receptors are not stimulated, the GPCR receptors will not be stimulated and the effect will not be evolved very correctly, whatever we are expecting with the kashaya. That is one point. Second point is that sanskaro hi gunantara dhanam. So if we are again rehydrating it, what exactly chemical changes into the heat liable secondary metabolites? That may be flavonoids, that may be flavones, which are very, very heat sensitive. What about those things? And then we have to study a lot. No doubt the idea is very good to prepare a tablet out of a kashayam. We may get a partial impact, but if we want to get a full impact, no doubt. And the third is dose. How we are calculating the dose? The dose of kashayam is mentioned here is 80 ml. And how we are calculating the dose of the tablets? On what basis we are calculating the dose of the tablets? These three issues makes very important that I feel that all the Panchavidha Kashayas Kalpanas are to be used as it is. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. So before we actually discuss about, let's have one other opinion from Ajayan, sir. So we say Kashaya is Kandasya Garshanat. And as well, contemporary people are on the point that we have to give palatability, that is comfort to the patient. So keeping these 2 points at par, how do you consider Kashaya, sir?
So here I think the most fundamental thing we have to go back to the guna level. So we are giving the guna samuha to that patient who is needed. So if that patient or the person who has a particular guna samuha is essential, we have to take it in that form. If Drava thing is there, more Drava quality engulfed medicine we have to give, it should be given in the Kashaya form. If another form is there, where there will be Pratyadhisthana thing is there, where Guru, Khadinam, all these things are needed, and that medicine is we want to give, we can give to that another form. If you want to give with an up and Prathi combination, we can go with a Lehya or something like that form. So it's depending upon the Vaidya that which is suited to that patient, and accordingly the Guna Samuhas we can set. Sir has told that Arkam, why can't we can go with the Sarkas? So if a patient needed an Arkam, that means that Arka is engulfed with such a type of Guna where there will be Pratyadhisthana, Agni, Vayu, Tattvas will be in that. We can't expect a Prathi predominant in that Arka. So if a doctor is needing that my patient needed this, surely we can go with that. So it is not a matter of a form of things to one to that. That's absolutely decided by a Vaidya. So that the Vaidya has to decide which is ideal to that patient. Accordingly, we can go with that guna balances.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir has given us a beautiful explanation on Panchabhautikatva. So over to Rangesh Parmesh, sir.
Yeah, I want to clarify a few things here. See this Kashayam, Panchavidha Kashayam and all that we are discussing. As most of you are aware, that the WHO has published quality standards for herbal medicine. So in that they define very clearly different components: herbs, herbal material, herbal preparation, finished herbal product. These are the steps. Okay. So herbs are raw herbs, in the dry, fresh, etc., etc. Herbal materials are obviously dried ones, the dried root, bark, leaves, seeds, flowers, petals, and all that. Herbal preparation is exactly what all this that you are talking about. So even in Ayurveda, as you know, the Panchavidha Kashaya Kalpana is a prerequisite for yoga. So Avaleha, if you want to make, first you need to make Churana of something else, Kashaya of something else, Swarasa of something else, or whatever. So these are all herbal preparations which are called as intermediates. Okay. Now, when we want to take this herbal product or Ayurveda product, so in our context in India, we'll call it Ayurveda product. When you want to take this Ayurveda product to the world or to the regulators, there is what is known as you need to submit as a medicine. I'm not talking about a supplement. So you need to submit what is called as the documents. There's a big dossier. What's that? CTD. A common technical document. It's called as common technical document. It has a 5 module. First one is about the company, what you are owner and all that. Second one is the abstract of 3, 4, and 5. That is 3 is quality, 4 is non-clinical studies, and 5 is clinical studies. So the summary of quality, non-clinical, and clinical studies that is done on this one. Okay. In case of the quality module, that is number 3, which goes exhaustively in this category, in this order only. What is the quality of the herbs, herbal material? You know very well, in 1997, Lancet, July 17 publication, which was a trigger for India to start application of a GMP to Ayurvedic formulations, Ayurvedic manufacturers. Till then it was done. At that time, I think my colleagues will remember me that for 3 to 4 years, we pushed and pushed and pushed. GMP is not for Ayurveda and so on and so on. What is that article? It was an article published in Lancet, as you know very well, read by millions of doctors around the world, both on online as well as the print edition. There's a picture of an Ayurvedic pharmacy, a corner shot with a slotted angles on either side. In one side, it is a gunny bag filled with herbs. On the other side, it is suited porcelain jars, and in the center on the tripod there is a suited vessel, and on the top on the corner there was a cobweb. This is what is an Ayurvedic pharmacy in India, and the government of India is trying to think of bringing GMP into this. It made a hue and cry. Unfortunately, today after 23-25 years, that GMP is a common norm, and in such a way that even the Drugs and Cosmetics Act also brought in what GMP for Ayurvedic preparation. Okay, that is one part of it. When this herbal preparation, this is called as herbal preparation, please mind it, it is what is called Panchavida Kashaya Kalpana in our traditional terminology, if you want to call it as. This extract, everyone has got a disbelief that industry is doing solvent extract. Why solvent extract? We have to understand. It's always the whole Ayurvedic industry wanted only water extract as it is, because Kashaya is different from Kwata. What Dr. Sabnis was talking about is a Kwata to be dispensed immediately. Kotanath Kwataha. Kashaya is, Swarasa is also Kashaya, Churna is a Kashaya, Hima is a Kashaya, Fanta is a Kashaya. Kashaya, Kash Akarshane, that which extracts, that which leaches out from the herbs. That is a very important aspect. So that extract is using a solvent. Okay. As our colleague said, naturally self-generated alcohol, dissolved components of the herbs which are derived out of asvarashas, etc. That we will keep aside. So basis which both the regulatory, the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, as well as the manufacturers also approaching Ayush to include alcohol. So alcohol has been included now in all that amendments. Alcohol extract is accepted. Anything else, even in alcohol extract also, if it is concentrated to be in that a particular phytochemical constituent is increased, then there is a safety study which is required. That is also rule number 157, I think so, if I'm not wrong. Please pardon me for the number. But however, nevertheless, this is a very important aspect that the whole world is asking, what is the quality standard for this extract? How do you identify? Okay. How do you identify that batch after batch is the same? So in case of turmeric, everybody knows curcuminoids. Okay, is an important thing. The whole world has worked. There is hardly any university in the US which has not touched turmeric. That's very important. Okay, doesn't matter. But curcuminoids, as he was telling me about the lyophilization. That is what is the freeze drying technology. Thanks to that, the Sorasa is. I'm telling you, Sorasa can be preserved for 2 years. Sorasa 2 years without preservative, but it has to be stored in the freezer. Freezer, okay? Doesn't matter. But we did a study of this turmeric, okay? You know very well our Nishamalaki. What is Nishamalaki? Amalaki Churna, Nisha Swarasa. Nisha Swarasa. Not Nisha Kashaya, Amalaki Swarasa. No. This is reverse. Okay. So we wanted to see and then find out not the Nishamalaki, but only Nisha. Okay. Nisha is also known that there are several studies. Friends, I wanted to tell you one thing is today we are having a very huge data, big data. Thanks to all the pharmacy colleges around the world, not only in India. India copied after that. Okay. This is an important movement why TCM is popular much before Ayurveda. Okay. Every pharmacy education system around the world has studied extensively on these herbs. That is why these markers or the compounds are the foremost thing. Okay. Now, this Amalaki, Nisha. Nisha Sorasa of the same batch, same cultivated one, and Nisha Churna. Both of them. We tried in non-clinical, the animal studies, in vivo. We found, of course, the quality, just one point. This is a very important thing to clarify. That one question, close it for all. As one important thing is the clinical studies is not done, but at least non-clinical one, wherein the TLC and other patterns absolutely matching with the one. We found this lyophilized Swarasa juice was better in hypoglycemic activity than that extract, hot water extract of the same batch of turmeric dry rhizome powder. So it proves that Swarasa is Guru. That's what he says in the order. Swarasa is the foremost Guru. Guru means what? Rich and heavy in all the phytochemicals because it contains both polar and non-polar compounds together. We don't have to do anything. Plant will give to us as it is from its sap, the Oshaha. That's where it is. So it has an advantage. But the solvent extract, last word, the solvent extract which is used to show today, for I think most of you are aware, there is one new regulation which is coming for the registration, which is not an Ayurvedic drug, which is not a herbal drug, which is phytopharmaceutical drug. phytopharmaceutical drug under DCGI, it is going to be not Ayush, but Ayush we are fighting actually. Get it into this because DCGI said we don't know about herbs. We know only about amoxicillin, ampicillin. What are you talking? And we need to do that. But because of the system, they wanted DCGI to do that. But still, we are all fighting. Anyway, doesn't matter. It will come, and I think it's in the Rajya Sabha in the monsoon session should come back to Ayush department. Nevertheless, the definition of phytopharmaceutical is that product which is having the extract, containing extract, should have at least 4 phytochemical compounds identified. Look at this. 4 compounds identified. These four compounds, which may be active compound or an analytical compound. Either active or analytical. It can be. There is an analytical marker or a bioactive marker. One of the two. It can be. So at that time, what happens? 4 of them to get it in water, all of us agree, will not be there. Maybe 1 we can get it. Even simple Punarava is that Punaravine is only 1 water soluble. But rest of the other so-called alkaloids, which are very well known for ages to be bioactive compounds, are non-polar. Correct? Thank you.
So I'm just doing a goal on your side, in fact. So see, increasing self-life, all these issues. So Ashtanga Hridaya has talked about Shodhanadi Gana, and he talks about you are allowed, free to do this Gana in any form, any Kalpana, isn't it? So Vidaryadi Kashayam we have, Vidaryadi Arishtam we have, Vaidyaratnam makes it, Vidaryadi Lekhyam we have, Vidaryadi Ghritam we have. Now, if you look at the whole thing, the shelf life of Arishtam is unending, isn't it? So the same Kashaya, Vidaryadi Kashaya, in Arishtam form, Acharyas have made the shelf life prolonged. The only thing is, there is some amount of samskara. I understand. But has it changed the Phalasruti of Vidaryadi Kashayam in that? Did he tell that Phalasruti will change? Vidaryadi will not be Hridyam? This is something we have to see. Even in our practice, we use Vidaryadi Gana, whether in any form, for the same Phalasruti, isn't it? So there is an inherent openness that, as Sir was telling, that this Kashaya Kalpana should be treated as an intermediate to the whole final pharmaceutical product, which is proven by Lekhya Kalpana, which is proven by Arishta Kalpana or Gugulu. Now you see the Gokshuradi Gugulu, Simhanad Gugulu, all this Gugulu. We are using Kashaya, we are using Churna, we are doing Bhavana with Gugulu, and Yogvahi is in one of the few Yogvahis are Ghritam, honey, madhu, and Gugulu is also said to be as a Yogvahi. Now, this is what I feel is, these are immense opportunities which our thought process in even our classical text talks about as to, So, this is my humble kind of, suggestion as to when we talk about innovation, already our texts have innovated. The same Kashaya, when done a Bhavana with Rasaushadha, it becomes infinite self-life. Isn't it? So these are some things which we'll have to again rethink. And when we are doing a new drug design, all these principles have to be taken in call. And may not be only solvent extraction. Again, solvent extraction, I have serious, not doubts. Are we giving too importance to just fibers which has no therapeutic activity? We know. So there has to be a thorough, science-based, discussion done on solvent extraction and other thing. And if we find there is some reason, there is some science also which proves that we are just eliminating just fiber, which is, of course, many times importance of gut microbiome. But if it is not so, can we think beyond it? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Rangesh, sir.
One point. See, we can't give Vidaryadi Gridam in a patient where we need Vidaryadi Arishtam.
Avastha Vishesha. That is, I agree. But we are not changing. I understand. Avastha Vishesha, Ama Nirama will do. But what I'm saying is, it is not possible that the same compound.
No, I just want to add one point in the tablets. It's not only the shelf life which is increased, but the dosage also. We could reduce the dosage of Kashaya Guliga, I mean, this Quatha tablets. Unlike the Kashayam, because Kashayam usually the concentrated kashayam 30 ml is to be given to one patient one day. Approximately 1 pala of medicine is used for that. We could make it to half. Even half a pala of dravya is used to make the tablets. And that tablet is working exactly like the 1 pala of kashaya dravya which is being used. Either the absorption is increased in the kashaya tablet form, or even the 10 ml kashayam 3 times a day or 30 ml kashayam once a day, that is a bit too much of a dosage because we don't know whether the whole thing is getting absorbed or not. I think half the dosage is enough to get the result in the patients. This is one thing which I want to add.
Yeah, there my observation is slightly different. We still use the same amount of medicine as is used in the kashaya. Our recommended dose is 6 tablets a day, and 1 tablet represents 5 ml of the concentrated kashaya, which is equal to 10 ml of the regular kashaya that we say. So 60 ml of kashaya is made into 6 tablets. So that is what we follow, and it is very clearly you can say that you can again disintegrate and dissolve this kashayam tablet and you will get back the same kashayam. We have also done studies, dissolution studies, where we have seen that the drug release is happening in the same way. In fact, we introduced this by asking doctors to, parallelly we would demonstrate, we dissolve the tablets in water, take out the kashayam and show them the regular kashayam and ask them to distinguish between the two. Nobody was able to distinguish.
No, it can be. It should be distinguished. Going for reverse pharmacology, it should be distinguished. If it is not distinguished, we can't find out the way you have performed it.
No, I'm saying the kashayam that is generated from the tablet and the kashayam which is prepared separately, you can't distinguish.
We should be able to distinguish. If we are changing the procedure over it.
Who said we are not changing the procedure? We are taking it forward. I mean, the same kashaya is over and then it is dehydrated. That's it. And then when you reconstitute it in water, I'm saying the product is the same.
Coffee.
Excipients
will be same.
Just like coffee.
The other point is that what sir was talking about.
I think one aspect I would like to say is we very often get very bogged down by theoretical concept. I think whatever we say, we need to validate it through our practical experience. Even as a doctor, I also get very overwhelmed with theoretical limitations. We think because something is said like this, any change from that will compromise is a premise on which we start. And we stop looking at avenues. But we need to go further and see. But keep an open mind. Let us not believe that any modernization is good. Modernization can be bad. In fact, we tried Kashaya Kalpana. Let me tell you the same thing. The traditional way we were preparing the Kashayam, we wanted to change it. We thought, why are you adding so much of water? It's a waste. In an industrial level, you are boiling so much of water and reducing it. We thought by reducing water, we could save and reduce cost. But we found this was the best way of doing it. You reduce the water content, the extraction was not up to the mark. You increase it, it is not further valuable also. If you add more water, you are not getting more output. The extraction which is mentioned in the textbook is the ideal method. After 1/4, you are asked to filter it and then concentrate. All that is absolutely perfect. But we just don't have to believe it just like that. We can also test it and see that it is still following. So our conviction becomes even higher based on data.
So there are 2 points from my side. One, what sir was elaborating about the whatever amount you are getting and whatever the results you are getting, it solely depends on, while doing Kvata Kalpana, it depends solely on the temperature and the particle size of the raw material you are using. It's very important.
Yeah.
That majority of the people, specifically for the students, majority of the people, they are preparing kashaya out of bharad churna or out of what we can call as powder, very
fine
thick
powder.
Right. Coarse powder. But Charak itself says that kashayam should be made out of fine powder. So the total solids will be more and the more effects will be there, one thing. And second thing, what I feel personally, if you take the reference of Rasayan, Charak Rasayan Adhyay, it's very important that in Rasayan, Charak has specifically mentioned Yashti Madhu Kshira. Kshirama. He has not mentioned Brahmi Kshirama. Here Brahmi Kalka is mentioned. Shankapushpi Ghrita is mentioned. So every formulation with every drug is itself a different drug in its own. It's very important, and its pharmacological activities are different. That's why following the classical things is the most of thing when it comes to the individualistic practice, when it comes to the customized practice. But when it comes to industry, these people are correct.
I think I just wanted to add one more topic. He is very correct. The temperature at which this whole process is done is very critical. It may be very easy for us to evaporate water at a high temperature. If you dehydrate the products under high temperature, the efficacy is lost. It has to be done under the Mridvagni. So actually we are following a process of vacuum. Vacuum, the entire process is done under vacuum, so water boils at 65 degrees. Even the Kwatha preparation, we can optimize, because the concept which is mentioned in Ayurveda is very relevant, but we just have to be sensitive to that and use it using the technology also. So very, very valid point that you raised, because if you just say you can dehydrate it, if you do it under very high temperature, the efficacy is definitely compromised.
Sir, just one point I want to ask here. First of all, I came to know very exhaustively about the process which you are following for Kashayam tablet. However, still, if we think about the classical mindset, so can we have some kind of study where one group, for example, any Kashayam, you have prepared a tablet. So one group is taking the original Kashayam and the another group is taking the tablet of that particular Kashayam, and we have compared the results. So can we have that? If not, can we do that? So that is one parameter where we can evaluate the efficacy of the Kashayam tablet as far as the original Kashayam is concerned. Still, to the practice which we are following in our clinic, I am using a couple of your Kashayam tablets as well in my clinic. So what practice, being a classical practitioner, and I want to give a tip to you as well. See, we can't deny unless or until we have a study that equivalent efficacy is there. We can't deny the potency and the effect of original Kashayam. So as soon as the person is at home and can prepare the Kashayam, please give it. Suppose they are traveling 2-3 days, like 4 days, we are here in Coimbatore. So they can carry these Kashayam tablets also with them. But at least we should not deny the original authenticity of the classical preparations. So my request to all the students also here, so first of all, develop a mindset that when and where you need to give various dosage forms of various medicines as far as classical Ayurveda is concerned. Because you have 10 options when you will go to practice, and it's very difficult as compared to the counterparts of the contemporary practice where they may have just 3 syrups, capsule, tablets, injectables, or maybe some local application, that's it. To 5 or 6 dosage form, the entire path is limited. We have at least 10 to 15 common practice dosage forms which are available any clinic, and we can't give 15 medicines to a patient. So the first thing which you all need to understand by meeting all these gurus today, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, the one takeaway message from this session is, if there are 10 or 15 classical formulations, when and where and how the mindset should be that which patient we need to give. So many patients you just give Soras and they are fine. So many patients you just give tablet or Guglu or Vati, they are fine. So you have to apply, and definitely you have to remember the classical fundamentals which our acharyas have mentioned. I will not go in detail. Maybe in the satsang, or I am there for 2 days, we can have a detailed discussion. But sir, do we have any that kind of similar studies as you are there in like developing? So do we have these kind of studies right now, or maybe we can plan for future in which we are comparing the original Kashayam and the tablets?
I mean, not clinical studies as such, because even for our classical products, we don't have clinical trials. So quality wise, benchmark the product characteristics wise, TLC fingerprints, HP TLCs, they are all matching perfectly. We have not done clinical studies because even for our classic formula, we don't have classical. So we cannot do that. We can do it, but then
clinical, classical, that is fine. But the point is, the Kashayam tablet is making you in a way that like people are questioning on the aspects, and maybe you are doing some kind of innovation. So there is a discovery and there is an innovation. There are 2 words which we need to understand. So if we are discovering something, we are not supposed to prove that we have discovered. But if you are doing some kind of an innovation, I think you people have done an innovation of your own kind. So that needs some kind of data and
it's
some
ideal
kind of
to do that. We agree.
To support, and you must be having your own patent also for that. So that is my humble suggestion and request to you. Thank you.
So, see, when we talk of Kwatadinam, Punaha Paka, it becomes a Rasakriya and Ghanavati. So, is it Ayurveda? Ghanavati is Ayurveda? Why cannot be a Kashaya tablet? In fact, in Ghanavati, sometimes when you are heating long time under a constant temperature, you have every possibility of losing many of the heat sensitive components. One thing. Second thing, I also does not agree formulation based on, like for example, in our text, Brahmi is always told as a Swarasa or in Ghrita Kalpana, where the active ingredients are either stored in a fresh juice or in a lipid soluble entity. Now we are all coming with Brahmi granules, which has nothing to do with it. That is not classical, neither it is an ethical innovation in Ayurveda. This is what we'll have to understand. Guduchi. Guduchi is classically told in Swarasa form, or it has to, even if it is in Kashaya form, it has to be given in fresh. But how many people we are doing? Now, see, if we stick to these principles of Bhaishya Kalpana and use new technology to replicate a similar situation, what you expect it to happen in the formulations as told classically, I think we should open. Yes, the next, I will give you a very good insight. We have prepared 35 true medicine and 35 placebo formulation, you know, of all kalpanas. Can I tell you a shocking revelation? We added in placebo only 2% of the active ingredient. Means 2% of, suppose if I'm making a kwatha with 1 part of some kashaya dravya and 16 times water, in placebo, instead of 1, we have given only 2% of that 1%. And when I made a TLC of a placebo, you'll be surprised, certain kwathas have more than 50% of the similar bands in concentration to that of a true kashayam. Now, it's under study now. We will know whether, if the 2% is having 50% dissolvable active ingredient in TLC, should we waste using so much of herb? Now, again, I'm not making a sweeping comment, but this is what, and I made Ghrita, I have made Arista, I have made a Kashaya, and I'm doing a fingerprinting. And we are very eagerly waiting for the outcome of that study. Now, see, this is where I think right now when we have this debate is based on assumption and presumptions. I think that more and more studies are required to it.
Sir, can we announce the tea break, please?
Yeah. So in this context, I think for your placebo study, either you are supporting homeopathy or yeah, either you are supporting homeopathy or no, TLC may not be the sufficient thing to investigate.
When I showed because this project is funded by Ayush, the guys are really worried what will be the outcome of the study. But the issue is why we are coming out of presumption is what is told is the text only works. See, maybe that 50% may not be good enough bioavailable to create a disease activity.
In vitro studies may be okay.
So this is no. Again, I don't agree with in vitro because see, in vitro, see, our human body is a complex system. No. Now see, many of our Kashaya Kalpanas are multi-ingredient, billions of different phytochemicals. Our body is a complex, non-linear system, dynamic system. So if you look at the whole synergism of a complex formulation interacting with a complex body in terms of 3 doshas is immense. It's a kind of a very apt hypothesis for network pharmacology.
So it is network pharmacology. You are going to network pharmacology.
Yes, network pharmacology. I think let us talk about all these things. Bring those new thought process to give the thought of our complex synergism. And can we create also such complex synergism with modern technology to deliver with the same product or same efficacy with good palatability and at drug administration? One more thing, sir.
At least LCMS is more
sorry
important.
to interrupt, sir. Please, can we have tea break?
LCMS is more effective tool for you. Liquid chromatography mass spectroscopy. That can indicate whether that 2% or 50% will be good for the person or not. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry to interrupt. Thank you. So now it's time for tea break.
I announced that when you will come back in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and please come back within 20 minutes because we are already running late and we have a very brainstorming session. So please be on time.